I'm Uzi Baram, and this is the Miniclass for a new course offering that I'm excited about. It's called Discover SRQ, History, Archaeology, Heritage. And I cooked this up last year and then got lucky enough that Andrea Canisse, the CEO, got excited by this as well. And we're able to create a new course that will take those interested on some nice adventures and tours throughout Sarasota and Manatee. It's really easy to look at the map of this region, which doesn't have a particularly good name. We call it the Sun Coast, but that's the name that the TV station uses and doesn't quite feel right. Saying Sarasota and Manatee is a mouthful. The west coast of Florida is not quite right because that's a lot bigger. Southwest Florida is not quite right either because Naples feels like they own that. And that's going to be one of the things we think about, that lack of identity. And as you think about the roads, it's easy to just kind of drive through and think there's nothing really here. But what I'll try to show you is there's a lot here. And there's a lot more here than what the tourist presentation has. The newest slogan for this area is Visit OTA. Yes. And if you go to your neighborhood big box store, you'll find not just little hearts and sailboats, which seems appropriate for Sarasota, but pirates, which is not even close to being appropriate for understanding this place. It's an area full of contradictions and paradoxes. And as an anthropologist, that's my training, I in fact am fascinated with places that have contradictions and paradoxes. I think they're the most interesting, particularly because it opens up the question of why. Why is there not a simple history here for what occurred? That's not natural, it doesn't just happen. There's fragments in so many different directions. And I've spent a good decade and a half doing research in this area, and I'm fascinated by the issues of the challenges. There's more to this region than tourism. This is Snooty, who died this summer after his 69th birthday in captivity at the South Florida Museum. People in this area were sad and are still saddened. There may well be a statue of Snooty put up in the spot where there was, until this morning, a Confederate monument from the courthouse in Bradenton. That's how much people care about this captive manatee. But he was a captive manatee. And that's important to realize. He was really cute and friendly, too. It's an area that has interesting architecture. This is from downtown, looking at the former Gee Whiz building and the Van Wezel, where we're all the way up there at New College. And immediately we need to think about how the land intersects with the water. That's going to be a running theme, how much we are at this intersection and how much Sarasota Bay and the Manatee River mean to this region, even for those who don't see it and think about it. We'll look at downtown and see some of the evidence of what was. There's parking garages, but there's also old cigar factories from the beginning of the 20th century, just kind of sitting, boarded up. It says, do not enter. We'll enter things, maybe not this building, but we'll enter things where we're not supposed to. We'll look at the rural areas. This is out Old Mayaca, and hopefully be able to see what's here. And part of my interest is to be able to get you to see that what looks empty is actually full of things, and full of history, and tremendously significant. We'll look at various places. This is an aerial shot from Northport, and that round circle you see is Warm Mineral Springs, and here's an artifact that came out of it, and it's going to be one of the themes we have of how much does come out of the ground, in this case out of the water, in this region that frankly most people don't know about, but I feel that you all should know about. The Discover, and that's the term we came up with for this, we'll look at history, archaeology, and heritage. For the history part of this course, I'm going to have you look at archival material. Back in 1885, the New York Times had a story about the Assassination Society in Sarasota. This was a scary place in the late 19th century, to the extent that the folks in New York were interested in this. Just north of campus, there used to be a drive-in theater. The entrance was there until the late 1990s. We'll look at archival pictures, we'll look at all newspaper accounts, or read primate documents. The person in the middle holding the stick with the feathers. We'll look at replicas of various historic events, how we can actually think about the stuff and words and images through a historic lens. We'll look at archaeology in terms of excavations, in terms of artifacts. This is a stone effigy that came from the Sarasota bayfront, found in someone's garden, which is the worst way to find an artifact. There's no stone in this area. Whether someone made this somewhere further north and brought it down and somehow it ended up in Sarasota in the ground, or whether someone brought some stone and worked this, we have a face of one of the pre-Columbian people looking at us. We'll look at archaeology for the deep past, but also the recent past. That fellow is digging, there's a little trowel there, in Venice at the train depot from the 1920s. And we'll think about what archaeology presents. I'll talk through archaeology, the results of excavations, and artifacts. And we'll look at artifacts over the term in various different ways. We'll do that history for the sake of seeing how historians look at documents. We'll look at the artifacts, or archaeologists look at it. But we're also going to look at heritage. Hey, you recognize some people in the room. We'll think about John Ringling and that heritage from the 1920s. We'll think about what's going on and visit what's going on in Newtown and the real productive uses of heritage to make positive social change. And we'll think about how new college students, that's why you have the picture of you all here, can contribute to that and have been contributed and really have made a real difference in this area by their work. And so much of this is digging deep into this material, learning about this area so you can represent it, not just so you learn about things, but to work on it. As a course, we'll try to do some things. We'll have an engagement with the surrounding communities across this region focused on archaeology and history. There's a rich heritage here, so we're going to mix field trips with classroom presentations. We're going to discover, to use that terminology, history, a complex history that spans more than 14,000 years. And we're going to put particular interest and attention to gender, class, and race issues and their continuing legacies in the present. We're going to have first-hand observation, and I'll work on skill sets on how to do that, archival research and the skill sets to do that, artifact analysis and the skill sets to do that, reflections, you do by yourself, discussions, you'll figure that out, and we're going to have some guest lecturers so you can meet some of the leading heritage interpreters in this region. We're going to look at, and gosh, when I came up with this course, I didn't realize there'd be such a discussion nationally about commemoration. But let's jump into what we mean by commemoration, what we mean by memories, what are monuments, how are landscapes organized. All that's going to be integral to this course. And I think it's of particular significance right now. You'll be doing some things. Got to always have some work to do. I'm a stickler for attendance. You will come. You will be there. You're going to participate. Every week there'll be an assignment. You're going to do two things. You're going to draw a map of the place we visit, and you're going to write about it. Short, but consistently. By the end of the semester, we're going to do two things. One, we're going to walk down through downtown Sarasota, and you're going to do the type of interpretation we've been doing all semester. And then you either write a paper, and I want to keep it fairly short at 10 to 12 pages, or do a video or PowerPoint. We'll talk more about that when the time comes. We'll read 4 books. One, some of you may have read. It's kind of the classic of Florida history, A Land Remembered. If you haven't read it, well, frankly, you should. It's problematic as a novel, but so is the history we're dealing with. We'll do that one. Hidden History of Sarasota. Jeff LaHeur is going to be one of our tour leaders. And he just throws out a whole bunch of stories about Sarasota. It's fragmented, but that is what we have here. We'll also look at 2 academic books. one by Paul Shackle, Barbara Little and Paul Shackle, that lays out, it's pretty clear, right? Archaeology, heritage, and civic engagement, working towards the public good. They review scholarship, scholars working on projects that aim towards the public good. And because it's just the nature of how anthropologists look at things, our unprotected heritage, the whitewashing of the destruction of our cultural and natural environment, know the challenges in front of us for heritage interpretation and historic preservation. That's one of the things we'll need to think hard about, and Tom King cynically will get us there. How we go? Well, thanks to Angiocanese, we have a trolley. And yes, it should be fun, and I'm hoping it's going to be fun. We also have a microphone, so I get to talk on the tour, on the trip. And so yes, that's what it's going to look like. I'm not kidding. Where are we going to go? We're going to go a whole bunch of places. So the little dots there, the little thumbtacks, everywhere from Emerson Point Preserve on Sneed Island, north of the Manatee River, down in Osprey to historic Spanish Point. From this campus all out east to the Sarasota County Historical Resources, and a few places in between. And when we don't go out and about on the trolley, we'll be going to the New College Public Archaeology Lab, where you're going to have to use an atlatl, play a video game, and other stuff like that, which you should enjoy. Thank you for smiling with those there. We're going to visit places of commemoration. This is from historic Spanish Point, and we're going to think about Bertha Palmer and really the role of women in modern Sarasota. A history that is consistent through the 20th century, but usually not well recognized. We'll look at ecological preserves. This is from Emerson Point Park, and both the presentation and the misrepresentation of places, and the creation of nature as somehow separate from culture. We'll go into urban areas, including downtown Sarasota, and we're going to walk through cemeteries and come very much face to face with the past and more. Our goals for the course: see the sights of Sarasota Manatee, not all of them, but a lot of the good ones. Learn about the past of this region and the politics of heritage. Meet some of the leading heritage professionals of the region. Work on skill sets in observing and documenting places with images and words. I don't think this is particularly easy. I think it needs to be done again and again and again to get it done well. And this is the active part of the course: contribute to preserving regional heritage, particularly for marginalized communities, histories denied. We're going to work on heritage as social justice before the semester is done. We will think about what lies beneath the surface, both physically and metaphysically. And we'll do it from the first day of class. Our first meeting is Wednesday at 12:30, College Hall 221. Be prepared to walk in the heat and humidity. Got that? Wear comfortable shoes. Bring a hat. Bring a water bottle. It's easy to dehydrate. I will want you to read two pieces, both on canvas. One by Alberto Eco, which is really long and complicated, and one by William Cronin, which critiques the notion of nature. Both should be on canvas. If you're interested in the course, please show up Wednesday, and we're going to start things going then. Thank you all. I'll see some of you Wednesday afternoon. Bye-bye. So that's me.